and go, no, me hate Trump, me hate Trump. But which one is Trump? Which one is Trump?
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but it's not that what I'm saying is we hate Trump. Is that what I'm saying is that at the end of the day, there is nothing that Donald Trump could do to push away any of these people. And that
period.
When you suggest that your red line, for example, is that they're anti-war, that at the end of the day, nothing he can do is going to push these people away. If we can watch this guy incite an armed insurrection at the U.S. Capitol and have all of these people initially speak out against it, only for them all to ultimately come back home, and there's not a single Republican in good standing in the Republican Party. Liz Cheney is out of the party. Adam Kinzinger is out of the party. Those are the only two people who are willing to speak out. Everybody else has since come back home to Trump. There is nothing he can do. If it's not going to be an armed insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, it's going to push these people away. What would it be? The notion that a policy decision that he could make is going to have enough weight behind it to finally push these people away.
Dude, he's so right. Literally everybody was anti-Trump. Remember, they all spoke out against the insurrection. So many of those Republicans, except the very, very hardcore, and every single one of them forgave 4 years of lies about the election, and they forgave all of the armed insurrection. They forgave the sexual abuse. They forgave the stealing of classified info, everything. They have just forgotten it all in exchange for a chance at just gutting and dismantling the government and potentially, starting the path to theocracy.
They have shown by virtue of coming back home to him that nothing he can do. I mean, like, we joke about him saying that I can shoot.
He hasn't even started in this term. What you're talking about is true for the past. That is definitely true. Look, I'm the very last person to defend Trump on Trump's terms. I know how dangerous Donald Trump can be. I know what an egomaniac he is.
Right, and I'm not challenging you on that. But go on.
Yeah, so I know who I'm dealing with here, but he also likes to be popular. So if we can feed into the direction that makes him more popular, which is passing our laws, our policies, then great. But you're giving up before this term has even begun. We're not...
Dude, on day one, he's writing anti-trans executive orders. On day one, he's promised 200 executive orders, including a slew of them being about anti-transgender shit. And he's going into blue states to raid undocumented workers and try to crash the blue state economies. So at that point, you don't ignore that shit. You know what I'm saying?
To get Trump to do like marvelous 85% of Bernie Sanders' policies, that's for Cocoa Puffs. That's never going to happen, right? Yeah. But if we get 15%, that's a lot better off. If we can contain...
Dude, I disagree with this because I don't want 15% of Trump's policies. I don't want him doing 15% of my agenda because that would mean I would have to be okay with his agenda. And that's the problem. There are a couple things of his agenda that is going to put like the Bible back in schools, destroy the Department of Education, harm transgender people, and concentration camps. And I don't want him doing any of my agenda until those four things get stopped. And that's the difference, is Cenk is like, he will let them do that harm as long as Cenk gets something out of the deal. But you see what's going on here is Cenk is just like them. Cenk is willing to be transactional and to sell the harm of people that are not him in exchange for him getting his shit. Cenk is like, if I can get my shit, I don't care if 3 or 4 groups of people have to suffer catastrophic harm. Okay? And he would not give up anything for Biden. Biden and Kamala Harris, like, he wouldn't give anything for them. Nothing. He wouldn't be happy. He could have gotten 50% from Kamala Harris, but he'd be like, no, burn her to the ground because we don't get 100. If I can't get 100 from my own side, we're going to torch them. But if I can get 15% in exchange for all these people getting harmed, like, I'll polish the Maga knob. And he's a fucking bullshitter, bro.
But if Bannon could create momentum for increasing corporate taxes, correct answer is yes, and help him fight against Musk. If Musk is right about something, help him fight against Bannon. That way we get to have a voice and we get to be a part of the equation.
Dude, Cenk is so clueless. Raising corporate taxes? Like, what fucking world does this guy live in, dude? It's just starting to piss me off now because he is just like gaslighting us. It's like I watched somebody take money out of my wallet and he's like, I didn't really take money out of your wallet. Your wallet's fine. What are you talking about?
Please, for God's sake, think objectively. And this is the number one request that I would have of people on our side, which is focus on policy. Don't get into this cult of personality. Oh, that's a Democratic leader. Or cult of personality. That's Trump. We have to oppose everything Trump is doing.
But no. See, this is incorrect because you have to focus on agenda. Because you can't just focus on policy. So Trump eradicates transgender people. Trump decimates the undocumented workforce and starts concentration camps. But he defunds your Pentagon a little bit. So you're like, go Trumpy. It's like, fuck you, Cenk. No, you have to pick an agenda. And then, yes, you can focus on policy inside your agenda. But you cannot just pick and choose across the aisle like that when the Republican Party and Maga have patently destructive policies that affect real human beings. Because Cenk is saying, well, go ahead and sell the trans people down the river because it's not popular winning elections with them. So we'll just let them get buried in exchange for, their economic agenda passed. And that's some bullshit, man.
No, wait a minute. What is the policy? And if they say something that we agree with, for God's sake, take yes for an answer. In the middle of Trump, imagine we get a couple of wins. I know what the great...
You're not going to get any pushback from me. I agree with that. I would love... Look, if by some miracle we see the minimum wage raise, if we see pro-union legislation passed, if we see the
trans rights...
Anything that happens that I want to see, I'm not going to trash it just by virtue of the fact that it was signed into law by a Republican president. I still, it's the agenda, not the politicians that I'm advocating.
Yes, there we go. Thank you, Brian Tyler Cohen. It is about the agenda, okay? You cannot pick and choose like these individual policies. But see, Cenk, though, is like unilaterally, he's about like taking some money out of the Pentagon. That's his obsessive thing. He keeps talking about the Pentagon, and he's convinced that he's going to unite with MAGA to take some money out of the Pentagon. But dude, frankly, I don't think taking money out of the Pentagon is really our number one important issue. If you have a trans kid or if you are transgender, your number one issue is not ending up dead. If you're Hispanic, you don't want your kids or your grandma deported. There are much more serious issues facing the American public. If you're a young woman, you don't want to bleed out from sepsis when you're trying to have a fucking kid. But so for Cenk, though, to allow this idea of the horrible part of the agenda, but we're just not going to look at it because it doesn't affect me because I'm a rich, TYT, Polymarket, Rick Caruso funded fake news enthusiast. All of a sudden he's like, oh yeah, we're going to forget about all that, the people that are going to die. Let's just look for the one good policy they might have.
And however we get there is perfectly acceptable to me. But I guess going back to the initial point, the issue I have here is that...
See, what's interesting, though, is why has his focus on Biden not attended to any of the policy? We never spend time talking about the Biden policy wins with Cenk. He's so hamming for policy. When's the last time you heard Cenk talk about Biden's policies that he liked? I don't think I ever have, man. I don't think I have heard him talk positively about a Biden policy.
Yeah, sure, you'll get pilloried by a majority of the party who, of course, wants to see Joe Biden in the strongest position as he heads toward an imminent election with Donald Trump. But that is different than there being zero people, literally none right now in the Republican Party
Ryan.
under the Bannon banner or under the Musk banner. any of those competing factions, nobody will say an ill word of Donald Trump, and nobody ultimately, at the end of the day, has any allegiance to anything other than whatever Donald Trump says. The Bannon people are not going to abandon. The Bannon people are not going to abandon Donald Trump by virtue of any policy position that he has. In the same way that the Elon people are not going to abandon him.
They will not, dude. Does he think the Bannon people are going to abandon Trump? Who would they support? Cenk? If you by any chance hear this, who would they support? Like, please ask him. Brian, BTC, please ask him. Who would they support if they left Trump? Like, who's going to even side with Bannon? Who would they support? I know. Look at him, dude.
Bannon said that Trump's position on H-1B was wrong. So you're totally counterfactual. So look, guys.
And not a single person will abandon him by virtue of it.
First of all, his campaign, his second term hasn't even started, and already there's a giant civil war within his followers.
Dude, there's not a civil war. Everybody, like, towed the line behind Musk. Let's go look at Laura Loomer. Remember? She was the big head of the Civil War. What is she doing here, dude? Right? Look at her. Oh, there's Laura Loomer. She got cucked. H-1B, remember, she was with the Bannon camp. Look at what they're doing. Oh, Trump is doing the J6. Look at Trump on stage. Look at Trump doing the Village People. There's no civil war. All they did is they got rid of the brown guy from Doge. Vivek got the hook. They basically are slamming the H-1B. Look at it on Vivek. He will take the blame for the H-1B. They will blame it on Vivek, hook him and remove him. And then Trump and Elon will continue with the H-1B, and they will fall in line because Elon and Trump have the money. They are all pro-Trump. Everything. Trump saving TikTok. Even though she's being shadow banned by Elon Musk, she is still right there. She is right there with Trump. She's lock, stock, and barrel.
I have some credibility in the right wing now because I am honest. And so when I...
Dude, Cenk has zero credibility in the right wing. He has zero credibility in the right wing. And, dude, they were laughing at him at AmFest. Why does Cenk think he has credibility on the right wing? Because some Twitter drones say, good job. Wow, you're really starting to come around, Cenk. Dude, nobody on the right wing thinks he has any fucking credibility. I mean, dude, are you kidding me? They're being used. He and Anna get used. They want left-wing people who will come and say the Democrats are terrible. And they come and they bring them on and they use them to tell their base and Maga that the Democrats are so bad, even their own are saying bad. Let's laugh at these motherfuckers. And then they move on. When Cenk goes and says, hey, let's try this policy, they're going to be like, fuck you. Like everybody was laughing at him when he talked about trans rights. But again, you don't make deals with the devil. Cenk's idea is like, let's try to win over some of their base. And in order, you know what I mean? That, bro. Like, nobody's doing that. You're not going to find any reliable there. What is he even talking about? You know, he thinks, he keeps dismissing their racism. Like, the racism gets dismissed, but nothing gets dismissed on the Democratic side. Defending your presidential candidate to try and win an election doesn't get dismissed, but racism gets dismissed. Wow, that's weird, Cenk, because you know what? I'm actually for supporting your candidate during an election year. That's how you fucking win, okay? But you're saying, no, supporting your candidate during an election year is a sign of being in a cult. But letting people be racist and pretending like it's not happening is normal, healthy behavior? Like, dude, you're fucking stupider than you look, bro. Dude, what a con, though, bro.
Please, look, this is the same for our audience, and we're trying to be honest with everyone. And obviously, of course, we're getting punished for it. You look at the comment section here, turncoat, binary thinking. If he's criticizing Democrats, that must mean he loves Trump. I'm sick of it. It's just maddening. Please snap out of the hypnosis you guys are all. Are you kidding me on not being able to challenge Trump? First of all, they did challenge Trump. He won. On Biden, it was the most legitimate challenge in history. And everybody said, shut up and fall in line behind the guy who's...
Dude, they literally pushed him out of the race, dude. What is he talking about, bro? He's talking about shit that didn't happen.
Mental decline. Who's talking about how his uncle was eaten by cannibals. And what did our side do? Everybody said, shut up and
asked him to step down.
And objecting to leadership is unacceptable. And by the way, Brian, they'll do it again. They'll put up another corporate robot like Pete Buttigieg or Gavin Newsom in 2028, and they'll tell you, shut up. You're not allowed to disagree. Unity. If you disagree, you're a Republican. We have to pick the worst corporate candidate there is. We have to pick a deeply corrupt establishment.
See, here's the problem, Cenk, and this is a recurring issue with this fucking guy, is if Gavin Newsom runs and he wins the primary, then Gavin Newsom's your fucking candidate. But when you don't like the primary winner, Cenk, you feel the need that you should be able to override the primary winner. But at the end of the day, it's not up to you. We don't care if your ass doesn't like Gavin Newsom. If he wins the primary, he's your fucking candidate. So quit trying to fucking sack your own goddamn candidates, because you've been doing nothing but sack the Democratic candidates for as long as we can remember. When people win the primary, that's your candidate.
If you're on the left and if you're watching this, you're supposed to disobey. We're the left. We're not supposed to fall in line. We're supposed to have interesting, dynamic, different intellectual ideas, and we're supposed to care for everyone. We're not supposed to say we care for everyone except MAGA and half the country, I hate them.
Dude, MAGA.
And we should never talk to them.
Them. Dude, we can talk to them as we're pushing them out the door, putting a boot right in their racist, xenophobic asses.
And all we should do is yell at them and assume that they're all idiots. That is not an inclusive position. Please wake up.
But I don't.
Right? The Democratic politicians have been miserable failures, and not of the Republicans, and not of the country.
Dude, what is he talking about, bro?
Like us, they never deliver for us.
I don't think that Democrats are. Look, I don't think that Democrats are doing that though, and they've proven in office that they're not doing that. When Trump listen. When Trump was ending his first term, every Democrat voted for the CARES Act because they recognized that it would help the American people, even though doing so would give Trump a win. And then, of course, when Republicans tried to pass, when Democrats came into office and tried to pass the American Rescue Plan, it wasn't passed with any support from Republicans. Maybe a few Republicans voted.
There you go. Thank you, Brian Tyler Cohen. Look at him. Oh, he's like, oh, he said, oh, that was COVID relief, but then the American Rescue Act comes in. Look at this fucking stupid motherfucker.
But they didn't do that. And then Democrats came back into office. We have the bipartisan infrastructure law. We have the bipartisan gun safety law. We have all of these benefits conferred to red states, red districts, red areas for the infrastructure law, the CHIPS Act. So Democrats do not just defer blindly to, okay, what can help us politically. They're perfectly content to bring Republicans in if it's going to help them, even if it's voting for legislation that will reflect better on Donald Trump himself. So Democrats aren't just this party where we're going to blindly take whatever wins and lock Republicans out. They've proven by virtue of how they govern that they're not willing to do that.
Yeah, so that's a fair point, Brian, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because you're right. If you're talking about corporate Republican Congress people, I have zero faith in them. And by the way, the only people who can get them in line to vote for anything that we want is not Democrats. Unfortunately, the reality is the only one that can get them to vote for anti-war or anything along those lines is Donald Trump, because he could bully them into submission. So I'm clear-eyed about that. But when we talk about, hey, I don't want to listen to Republicans, I don't want to listen.
Here's the deal, though. Let me just propose a question here, because I believe Cenk is being disingenuous here. Because Cenk is claiming that he wants to go and hear the other side out and fight for similar policies. But whenever Cenk goes on a right-wing podcast, when he goes to AmFest, when he goes into those environments, the bulk of his conversation is the same shit he's doing here, which is to defend Trump and MAGA and to trash the Democrats, specifically Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And he always uses the word the establishment, even though Trump and MAGA are the establishment of the Republican Party. They have the world's richest man. They have now billions of dollars at their disposal. Trump is now a mega billionaire thanks to the Trump coin that's being, purchased by foreign governments and shit, funneling money to him via crypto. So this is completely disingenuous. Like, Cenk, you're an actual liar. You don't go into those spaces and build consensus and common ground. You go into those spaces and you ingratiate yourself by telling them what they want to hear about the left wing, and by beating up on your own side and talking about how corporate and bought out and elite and how rich donors the Democrats are, how ineffectual they are, how they're doing culture wars, how they're like making bad decisions and they're so corporate. That's all you do. You go over there and you just feed their machine in hopes that they're going to like you. And then you come back and tell us that you're selling us all out and shitting all over us because that's going to help us get our policy passed. And we all know it's not true. And we know you're a liar. We know that you're a corporate bitch. You bend over for corporate donors, Polymarket. You bend over and change your entire political philosophy, and even in front of your audience, as your audience walks away to on Rick Caruso's knob and try and get some of his billionaire developer cash. You're the one. You're the whore, Cenk. Like, it's plain as day. And that's why Brian's looking at you and he's like, God damn, bro. Like, Jesus.
And I don't want to listen to anyone who's a right-wing voter. And I think they're all fascist. And they're and then you've got Bannon and Musk at this. I use it as an example. In these 4 years, you're going to see that they're going to have non-stop internal fights. So I'm curious if our side is ever going to be fair and goes, yeah, no, you're right. It turns out they do have these giant conflicts. Jump in there. Help support corporate tax increases, right? But
dude, there is going to never be. Why does he keep saying corporate tax increases? Where is this coming from? Look at his face, dude. Brian Tyler Cohen right now is all of us, as for like the seventh time in this interview. Cenk's like, they're going to do corporate tax increases. Oh, somebody wait, are there donuts? Oh shit, give me the donuts. Dude, Trump will never, ever in a million fucking years levy a corporate tax increase. Like, what are we talking about? He is very well composed, but you can tell he's frustrated. You can tell Brian is frustrated because Cenk is like, dude, it's like talking to one of those Girl Gone Bible girls where you present objective reality and they're like, no, that's not reality. Reality's really that unicorn that's on the poster behind me. That unicorn back there is reality.
you just go, no, I want to shut off. I think they're all evil. I don't want to understand the difference between Bannon and Musk. I don't want to understand the difference between the corporatists in the Republican Party and the populists in the Republican Party. I don't want to understand the difference between the populists economically and populists socially.
Dude, now he's just spinning terms here. Dude, there is no right-wing populism because right-wing populism is white supremacy. That's it. There is no right-wing populism because when there is populism on the right wing, it is only for the white people, and specifically the white Christians and mostly the white Christian men. Yes, you are so right. It is absurd to think this because look at all of his cabinet picks. They are all just loyalists. They don't even have experience. Many of them are up for departments that they've never had anything to do with their entire life. They are merely just 100% loyal. They would burn the Constitution for Trump. They would go to jail for him. That's it.
Well, that is, again, a very anti-left-wing position, an anti-intellectual position, where you go, I'm shutting off my mind. I'll just let the Democratic politicians think for me, and I will dutifully obey them in every primary and make sure that I support some sort of corporate goon who never delivers on their promise.
But see, here's the problem, is the problem with this, is he keeps going back to that. I will dutifully support a corporate goon, but like, it's not about dutifully supporting a corporate goon, Cenk. It's whoever wins the primary is your candidate, but you won't support the candidate that the Democratic Party votes in because the people voted and we pick our candidate. And then afterwards, you're like, no, you didn't pick Bernie. You didn't pick Dean Phillips, the guy who couldn't even beat uncommitted in his own goddamn state, bro. Like, what are you talking about? The problem, Cenk, is you. You're a liar. Okay, if we vote Gavin Newsom and he wins the primary, then yes. If you're a Democrat, then you back Gavin, but you won't. Every time they elect somebody you don't like, you try to fuck over your own party. And then simultaneously, you're saying, well, I don't like anything about the other party, but I'm going to go polish their knob in the hopes that they pass one thing. And yeah, dude, Cenk's taking it personal about him and Bernie. He's never gotten over Bernie, dude. He's going to be crying about Bernie losing the primary till the end of time. Dude, that was a very informative video. It really was. But again, though, there were some significant issues with the reality that Cenk was presenting, right? He kept presenting this reality of, his whole thing of like anti-corporate Dem. At the end of the day, during the primary, you can go out and fight against the candidates you don't like. But once somebody wins the primary, you have to back that shit off. Same with 2028. We know he hates Gavin Newsom. If Gavin runs and Jon Stewart runs and Ro Khanna runs and Gavin wins the primary, we all know that Cenk will spend the entire election season trying to kneecap Gavin Newsom. And that is the problem I have with these motherfuckers, because they're disingenuous, because he doesn't actually want to win. He wants to make sure the people he doesn't like don't win. Cenk values kneecapping his opponents in the Democratic Party more than he values the Democratic Party winning. And he tries to excuse his behavior by deep stating or blaming it on the establishment. He uses the same right-wing technique. And that's the real problem that I have with he and Anna, is that they use those right-wing techniques. They spread misinformation. They spread untruths in order to back up their viewpoints. They get stuck around personal grievances. And what they will do is they will sacrifice their party in exchange for getting their own personal vendettas passed.